Good day to our dear televiewers and subscribers. I am Ubaldo A. Soriano Jr. or Sir UB, a mathematics teacher of Honorato C. Perez Sr. Memorial Science High School, your teacher in math for DepEd Teleturuan. Today, we will be discussing solving quadratic equations under the most essential learning competency for Quarter 1, Week 1. The learner solves quadratic equations by letter A, extracting square roots, letter B, factoring, letter C, completing the square, and letter D, using the quadratic formula. For our learning targets, at the end of this learning session, you should solve quadratic equation by extracting square roots, factoring, completing the square, and using the quadratic formula. Let us have first the roots of quadratic equation. The roots of quadratic equations are the value of the variables for which the equation gets satisfied, and these are also called solutions of the equation. The number of roots of a polynomial equation is equal to its degree. Hence, a quadratic equation has two roots. We will have first our first method, solving quadratic equation by extracting square roots. This method is commonly used when the quadratic equation is incomplete and in the form ax squared equals c. To solve the quadratic equation using this method, place the constant term at the right side of the equation and then extract the square root of both sides of the equation. Let us have our examples. Number 1, find the roots of the quadratic equation x squared minus 49 equals 0. First is to write the equation in the form ax squared equals c. That is, x squared equals 49. And then, get the square root of both sides of the equation. That is, square root of x squared equals square root of 49 will result to x equals positive or negative 7. Therefore, x equals 7 or x equals negative 7. For our next example, let us consider the equation 5x squared minus 45 equals 0. For our first step, we have to write the equation in the form ax squared equals c. So that is 5x squared equals 45. Dividing both sides by 5, we have x squared equals 9. And then extracting the square root of both sides of the equation will give us x equals positive or negative 3. Therefore, the roots of the quadratic equation 5x squared minus 45 equals 0, x equals 3, or x equals negative 3. Let us have another example. We have 4x squared equals 48. Dividing both sides of the equation by 4, that is x squared equals 12. And then extracting the square root of both sides of the equation will give us x equals positive or negative 2 square root of 3. And then therefore, the roots of the quadratic equation 4x squared equals 48 is x equals 2 square root of 3 or x equals negative 2 square root of 3. Now, let us try this. Find the roots of the equation 3x squared minus 48 equals 0 by extracting square roots. Okay, let's check your work. For our problem, 3x squared minus 48 equals 0, when written in the form ax squared equals c, will become 3x squared equals 48. Dividing both sides by 3, then that is x squared equals 16. Extracting the square root will give us the roots of the quadratic equation x equals 4 or x equals negative 4. Okay, that is for our first method of solving quadratic equation. Now, let us proceed with the second method, that is solving quadratic equation by factoring. This method is applicable only if the expression ax squared plus bx plus c is factorable. To solve for the quadratic equation using this method, the following steps may be applied. Number 1, write the equation in standard form, and that is ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. Number 2, factor the left side of the equation. Number 3, use the zero product property. And the zero product property states that if A times B equals 0, then A equals 0 or B equals 0. And for our last step, solve each resulting equation. Okay, let us solve the following quadratic equations using factoring technique. Number 1, we have x squared plus 8x minus 20 equals 0. So we have to factor the left side of the equation, and the factors are x plus 10 and x minus 2. Applying the zero product property, wherein each factor will be equated to 0, we have x plus 10 equals 0 or x minus 2 equals 0. Solving for the values of x, we have x equals negative 10 or x equals 2. Let's have another one. We have x squared minus 6x equals negative 8. As you notice, this is not yet written in standard form. So we have to write the equation in standard form. It will become x squared minus 6x plus 8 equals 0. Factoring the trinomial will give us x minus 2 times the quantity x minus 4 equals 0. Applying the zero product property, each factor will be equated to 0. Then we have x minus 2 equals 0 and x minus 4 equals 0. Solving for x in each resulting equation, then x equals 2 or x equals 4. Our next example, we have 3x squared plus 13x minus 10 equals 0. Since this is already in standard form, we will factor the quadratic trinomial, and the factors are 3x minus 2 and x plus 5. Applying the zero product property, where 3x minus 2 equals 0 or x plus 5 equals 0. Solving for x in each resulting equation, then we have 3x equals 2. Dividing both sides by 3, we have x equals 2/3. On the other hand, x is equal to negative 5. So therefore, the roots of the quadratic equation 3x squared plus 13x minus 10 equals 0 are x equals 2/3 or x equals negative 5. Now, let's try this. Find the roots of the quadratic equation x squared minus 10x minus 11 equals 0 by factoring. Let's check your work. The quadratic equation x squared minus 10x minus 11 equals 0, when factored, will become x minus 11 times x plus 1 equals 0. And applying the zero product property, we have x minus 11 equals 0 and x plus 1 equals 0. Solving the resulting equations, then x equals 11 or x equals negative 1. There you have it. We're about to have a short break for a few reminders from the studio. Please stay tuned for continuation of the discussion of solving quadratic equations.